So you want to break your social media addiction, but you're not sure where to start. Maybe you've tried to get off apps like this for a while, apps such as Instagram, TikTok, and maybe any other platform with tons of short form content that just sucks you in for hours and hours and seems to waste all your time. And I think when you're trying to quit a habit like this, it's kind of annoying how much misinformation there is online and how many tactics simply don't work. For example, when people tell you to just delete the app, or download blocker apps on your phone that will block apps such as Instagram and prevent you from using them. I think advice like this is kind of nonsensical, especially when it's so easy to just re-download the apps and delete the blockers. And I think when we're given advice like this and we can't adhere to it, it just makes us feel a whole lot worse. Because essentially we feel like these tactics are the end all be all. And if we can't make them work, we feel like there's something fundamentally wrong with us. And what I want to say without sounding too controversial is that most of the content about quitting social media online is complete trash. A lot of the advice you hear is unhelpful, and it's not going to get you to that end goal of minimizing your social media use and actually being able to focus on other things. And though I'm human like everybody else, and from time to time I slip back into periods of more social media use, especially in times of stress and boredom, I want to tell you 3 different tactics that have worked well for me in terms of quitting social media. And I honestly think these 3 tips will be more helpful than most of the advice you see online. And the first tactic is to quit with a friend. What this looks like is trying to minimize your social media use, but making it a plan that you're going to do it with another friend of yours who also has the same goal in mind. In the same way that we go to the gym with a gym partner and they encourage us to push harder, push past our limits, and just motivate us to keep going, the same can be said for quitting social media and having someone there with you while you're doing it. When you're the only one holding yourself accountable, it's very, very easy to slip back into using these kinds of apps, especially when you're stressed out or you're really bored or you feel like you have nothing else to do. But when you have another person watching your activity and also keeping your best interest in mind, it can be much more easy to motivate yourself to stay away from these apps because you want to make this other person proud. And at the same time, it makes you more willing to give up on these kind of apps, because if you're encouraging someone else to give them up and then you're still using them religiously, you realize that this is a bit of a double standard, and that dissonance is likely to make you uncomfortable. I can say that some of the periods where I use social media the absolute least was when I had another friend who was quitting these kinds of apps with me, and I knew that we were both onto bigger and better things, being more productive, and that motivated me to keep up with this person and maintain these healthy behaviors. So quitting with a friend can be super effective. And now second, if you want to quit social media, one thing you have to acknowledge is that you're not only addicted to social media, but most likely you're also addicted to your phone as a whole. Because right now you think that you're only addicted to, say, Instagram, and you keep opening it up again and again, almost reflexively without thinking about it. But one thing you'll realize when you actually delete an app like this is that even without this on your phone, you still might have the habit of going onto your phone and just opening up random apps. I can say personally, in times that I've deleted apps like Instagram or TikTok, if I had really built up that habit of opening those apps on my phone, sometimes I would go on my phone and just open completely random apps. So I would go on my phone and just open the Safari app, and after a couple minutes, I would ask myself, what am I even doing here? Why did I even bother doing this? Because we don't only have an addiction to social media, but we also have an addiction to just the dopamine that our phone screens give us. And the best practice for this is just becoming more mindful of how frequently we're picking up our phones and trying to minimize this number. So in your phone settings and in your screen time report, there will often be a number that tells you how many separate times you've opened up your phone throughout the course of the day. So if you can look at a statistic like this and make it your goal to minimize the amount of times you're actually picking up your phone and opening your lock screen, that's a very good starting point. Remember, you're not only addicted to social media, you're most likely also addicted to your phone. So you also have to kick that habit before you can expect to just go cold turkey off of social media. And on my final tip, and this is gonna sound, I think, kind of silly, is that if you want to get off of social media, if you want to quit this addiction, then you have to fill your time up with other things. A lot of us tend to use social media in our downtime when we literally have nothing else to do. And the problem for a lot of us is that we simply don't have enough activities or different hobbies that we're willing to do in this free time. So we get home, whether it's from school or from work, and we're sitting on the couch and we think to ourselves, you know what? I can't really think of anything else to do. I might as well just scroll reels. And I think that as we cultivate new hobbies and we explore new interests, it's a lot easier to devote more time towards these other activities as opposed to putting it all towards our phones. So no one else is really gonna tell you this, but as simple as it sounds, exploring new hobbies is a very useful way to quit social media. Because we can't just replace your social media scrolling with nothing. If you have no other activities to fill your time, obviously you're not just gonna get home and stare blankly at the wall. Obviously not. But you have to find other activities that you enjoy, preferably things that are productive, or if not productive, just things that you enjoy and aren't sapping your mental energy. But diversifying your interests is super important. And now I think the final hurdle towards getting off the social media is that a lot of people use these apps for a form of passive entertainment, especially after a long day. If we're really tired and we just don't feel like devoting a lot of mental energy to anything, it's very easy to go on apps like this because they're essentially mindless. You don't have to think to use them. And a lot of the time we consider that as a good thing because we're just tired and we just don't feel like thinking. The problem comes when we overuse these apps and we feel guilty and unproductive afterwards. So I think a good final goal is to find other forms of passive entertainment, especially when you're really tired, other forms of passive entertainment that you can substitute for social media. And some examples of this could be listening to ebooks, maybe listening to longer form content such as YouTube videos that actually make you think, as opposed to putting ourselves in the trance of watching reels. And other forms of passive entertainment, maybe FaceTiming a friend and just walking around and just having a good conversation with them on your phone. There's many different forms of passive entertainment that don't require a whole lot of mental energy. And a lot of us think of Instagram and TikTok and these other social media apps as the only real way to unwind. But when you actually explore the different ways that you can just have fun while maintaining that low energy level, there's actually a whole lot of healthier substitutes you could try. So now to summarize what we've talked about, if you want to quit social media, there's 4 things you can do that I think work pretty well. The first is to try quitting with a friend so you have that extra accountability. The second is to realize that you're most likely addicted to your phone, not just social media, so you have to also kick your phone addiction if you want to be successful. Third is just to fill up your time with more activities and more hobbies, so when you have that downtime, you have other alternatives to go to as opposed to always jumping to social media. And fourth is to find other forms of passive entertainment, because when you're tired, it's very easy to hop on social media apps like this, but if you have healthier alternatives, it's much easier to explore those as opposed to always jumping onto something like Reels. Now, I really hope you can find this advice useful. If you like videos like this on productivity, studying, mental health, and really anything else college related, I really recommend you subscribe. There's gonna be a whole lot more videos like this soon, but until then, I'll see you guys.